Greetings, all. Greetings, greetings, greetings. A couple of events, or more than a couple. They're actually about 4 or 5. But while the newspapers are talking about, when I say newspapers, I'm talking about the news outlet. And you can see who owns who today so very clearly that I am kind of chuckling at how easily it can be identified now. Normally it was a little bit more less open than it is today. We begin with Africa and the new president of Senegal. Mr. Faye was given the ability to lead his country out of the mess that the past presidents allowed the French and English, EU, and everyone else to put the country into. And it's not only the Europeans that's doing it, but Arabs. Nevertheless, if you and when I say the Arabs, all you have to do is look at what is being done in Palestine and who is doing it. You have Jewish people and Arab people in America now that don't have the kind of force that Arab nations in the Middle East have, that are fighting for Palestine to see this carnage end, to see Israel punished. And you got people like Jordan silent, Saudi Arabia, nothing. They see what Israel is doing but have done nothing. Basically, they talk and done nothing. But anyway, we are talking about our people. And Mr. Faye was given the opportunity by his people. Young man. But look at the news reports. Instead of saying, hey, let's sit down with Mr. Faye and say, okay, what plans do you have for Senegal? How can we help you accomplish those plans? Guess what you see in the papers? He's got 2 wives. Which one of them who is going to be going on the international trips? And you see Africans doing this. African news outlets, YouTubers. These are the people you see doing it. And I see it when it first raised its head in the MI6 control press, the French intelligence control press, the American intelligence control press. That's where I saw it first. And the African people who are picking up are readily identified as associated with these people. Otherwise, they'll be looking at him with a different light, with optimism for what he can do with his country, for his country, with the resources that he has. They were telling us about the resources that France have to lost control of and how it can be used. Instead, they're talking about his wives. Do you see how the system works? I hope you're looking at this thing carefully and critically. That's what's done. Another thing I see is one question that came to the EFF, the head of the EFF. We all know who he is. And he came around and says, hey, we the youth have to take over, push these old men out. Professor Lumumba was previously the only someone that with more, what would I say now? He had a bigger audience of African people who was saying the same thing. He had finally come around in the talk about the corruption. We all know it's there. It's not that it shouldn't be talked about, but he talked about it, made sure everybody knows, hey, you gotta stop this corruption. Then he turned to saying the youth of Africa have to take over rulership for themselves and get rid of all these old men who would stay there till they die in office. Something that you heard me talk about over and over and over. Then you had this false coup in Togo. They couldn't use the military to take over, so what they did was change the constitution anyway to give him more power for longer. But guess what? The Nigerian that always leads the charge against coup, and the Ghanaian that always leads the charge against, not in my office. You won't see the Western agenda change while I'm in office. Want to attack their fellow Africans with arms. They are both silent. No. Both of them are silent with this coup d'etat. I hope you're watching these things carefully. Something like that was not planned in Togo. Yes, the president, I mean, their minds are corrupt and wicked, but they don't have the ability to defend it. That's a preemptive strike. It can only come from two places I know of that going for that kind of thing. And if you guys are watching it carefully, you know the two places. They can't do it with guns. Otherwise, people will be saying, coup d'etat, what are you going to do about this, ECOWAS? He said no more coups. No more coups. What are you going to do with what this ECOWAS? So it's like a preemptive strike. But those are some of the things that you're seeing that's going on, that's happening. It's not just happening. But what's happening behind the scenes is what's causing this. Because they've been talking about giving Ukraine money and arms for how long? But guess what? It's not coming. They know the war is finished. They know Ukraine now is finished. Ukraine, 500,000 men. And that's not counting, that's not counting the wounded. All the men of age that can change, that 20 to 45-year-old group are the ones who have all died. And I keep talking about that as it pertains to Africa. They're removing those from Africa. Even from among the poor Africans, they're removing. In America, they're capturing the black American either by gangs or by education. I'm talking about the men now. The women are already been captured. Black American women, Black Caribbean women, they've all been captured already. Black British women have already been captured. Now, it might not appear to you that this is what's going on, but that's what's happening. The cream of the crop in America, black men, are being siphoned off. The rest of the society is dying. They are the baby making machine that keeps America's numbers of babies. And imagine that 100 babies are born. $200 are aborted. So if the other 200 were to live, guess what would happen to America very quickly? The population of young black men would increase just like it is in Africa. Fear of a black planet, someone said. But they're promising Ukraine all this money, but it's not showing up because they know that the war is ending. They got rid of the woman who was leading the charge, that was in charge of implementing the program, because she didn't come up with the program. The program came up with somebody else. They always come up in think tanks. You have these think tanks all over America and England, France, Germany, that sit down and plan these things. Then they find somebody to carry out the program, the process. So they took her out, and now they pretend to be arguing about the money so they can wind down that process, that war. But guess what? They're turning to Asia and Africa. But mostly Africa. Africa has no army to keep them from coming. The armies that you see in Africa are all, what would they call it? Like little gangs that keep their chief gangster in office. That's all they're there to do. They can fight the tribe next door, but they cannot fight against the real oppressor. They didn't do it 2,000 years ago, 1,000 years ago, when the Arabs and the British came in to take people The Arabs, the British, and, well, the Dutch were then the Jewish people who owned the ships and who knew where we were in Africa. These people who call themselves Hebrews, we know where you are, and that's where they came from. And using the jealousy of the African, fomented tribal wars to take out the best people. But anyway, look at what's going on today. The three are in war against each other everywhere on the planet. Young leadership is going to keep Africa from getting into those wars. Young leadership is going to change the process. Like I said, you see all the people going into space, but you don't see Africa. But we are the ones that are supposed to lead that charge. If only you can read the writing of this, written on the pyramid. Those books tell a story that Hawass from Egypt tried to keep hidden. The Egyptians don't want anybody to know. And they are guided to do that by people we know. We are supposed to be leading the next great change on earth, because there's a danger coming after that. Anyway, what's going on across the continent? What's going on in our home, Africa? Don't get distracted by what's going on in Europe. Like I said, just watch what's going on. But don't get into the arguments about it. Just don't get into arguments about politics in America between the purple man. You got which slave master is better for me? Huh? If you want to vote. That's the process. But the two of them are the same. One just tells you he's going to do it. I'm going to re-enslave you when I come into office. That's how America was made great, by slavery. What do you think make America great means then? You're forgetting something. Anyway, peace. Have a great day wherever you are. Watch the sunrise, sunset, look at stars at night. But you're going to hear about all the bad things. You now have to find some joy, and it's written in the stars, it's written in the sun, it's written in the sunrise, the sunset. Peace.